Well, good morning. I don't know. We were talking on the elevator this morning about how quickly the weekend seemed to pass by. It was just Friday and it's Monday already. Have you noticed that? Just like that. Oh my. This also, I think, will go down in history as the year that we had no spring and no fall. We went right from winter to summer, and it looks like we're going right back to winter. Furnace was on last night. You could hear the gas meters spinning like a roulette wheel. So, we have Ray Floyd in the first hour. Great golfer. Won the Masters back in 76. He'll be here in a minute or two. And that's because there's a big tournament here, which I'll tell you all about. That's the St. Louis Junior League Challenge Cup benefit golf exhibition scheduled today at Forest Hills Country Club. Just in case in the newspaper, in case you missed it, this was up north a little bit on your way to Chicago. It seems that a couple was in court for divorce, and the judge made an interesting statement. The husband had it right up to here with his wife. And finally, he just couldn't take it anymore, and he was sitting there at the breakfast table, seething, bubbling with fury. You know the feeling, Colin? Mother-in-law still in town? You know the feeling, Colin. Sitting there at the table, just like that. And finally, he couldn't stand it anymore. And there was a big jar of Smucker's jam on the table. And he took his knife, his bread knife, and he took a big dollop of Smucker's jam, and he just smushed it right in his wife's face. That made him feel so good that he took another big scoop of Smucker's strawberry, I think it was, and he just gave it right at her, and he loved it so much, they smeared her, and she sued him for divorce. And the judge said, after reviewing the evidence, that he felt this was kind of a legal milestone because, to his knowledge, it was the first and only occasion that he'd ever been in court to rule on a smear Smucker suit. Now, you see what it is this show is getting entirely too intellectual for you, and you're beginning, I didn't get that. Smear, well, quite honestly, I think if the level of the opening jokes are getting, if you're beginning, there's a few. I don't know. Is it Monday already? Smear Smucker suit you. Bob McCassin writes, this morning, while I was having coffee at, someone said to me, coffee at, this is a place down the street from a Drusher's. Someone said, my dishwasher acted up this morning, and I had to call an electrician. And I said, when my dishwasher acts up, I just slap her around a little bit. Please don't use my name. She finds out I said that, she'll beat me within an inch of my life.
Now, your Metro Chrysler Plymouth dealers bring 85 alive with the most advanced high-technology Chryslers and Plymouths ever built. Check out Plymouth Voyager, America's most versatile front-wheel drive magic wagon. Voyager, seating for 2, 5, up to 7 people with optional third seat, yet capable of delivering 40% more cargo capacity than a big wagon that's 3 feet longer. Look into the new aerodynamic 85 Plymouth Reliance Super K and the all-new Plymouth Caravelle. And don't miss the 1985 Turbo Chryslers, luxurious New Yorkers, LeBarons, and sporty Lasers. All this plus $550 protection. These limited warranties cover powertrain and outer body rust-through for 5 years or 50,000 miles, whichever comes first. A deductible applies and lease cars are excluded. Ask for details. Don't you miss seeing the high-tech 85s at your St. Louis Metro Chrysler Plymouth dealers, who remind you that Doug Henning, Voyager's spokesman, will be appearing at the Fabulous Fox October 16th through the 21st. Check newspapers for details.
You'll meet Ray Floyd in just a minute. Westport Plaza this fall has a reputation, well, not this fall, they always have a reputation as one of the top shopping and entertainment and business complexes in the city, and they're adding some things this fall, which I thought you might be interested in. In fact, maybe you were out to see us when we did the show from Westport a few weeks ago and had a chance to come out that week. What surprised me was so many people in the audience had never been to Westport before. Well, Westport has new stores coming in. There's Benson's, a St. Louis women's apparel shop. There's Glick's for men, or I think they call it Glick's for guys, an apparel shop. There's Pulford's, a California-inspired shop with unusual gifts. There's a holiday tanning spa, and there's a new McDonald's. Of course, Deerdorf and Hart's has been doing very well, and they've expanded. Patrick's is going to expand, too. Pat's going to take the whole patio area and enclose that. And they've opened banquet rooms on the second floor. The Casa Gallardo is remodeling, so there's always something going on at Westport. Westport Plaza has it all for fall.
I think we did a pretty good job accumulating money. Now what we need is a watchdog for it, one with sharp teeth. I have some pretty sophisticated financial needs, and I need a bank that's in tune.
Well, right now, one bank is giving me a better deal on this program and another a better deal on that program, and I do business with 3 banks. I'd like to start working with one bank that would appreciate a big account and be a little flexible for me.
I like my banker to talk to me, tell me what's happening with my accounts, all the details, all the opportunities, all the options. It's my money. Is that too much to ask?
Just give me some attention. My money's just as green as anybody else's.
All those years earning and investing and worrying. Now I think it's time we were able to start feeling comfortable about money.
Landmark Banks. Now you can begin. Members FDIC.
Ray Floyd will be here in just a second or two. Before we do anything else, I want to tell you about our cruise, because a lot of interest has come in on the cruise just the past week. It's a long way off. It's July 20th. We're going to spend 7 days on board the New Amsterdam, and we'll sail up into Vancouver and Ketchikan and Juneau. I've never been into any of these places, but it's supposed to be one of the most beautiful cruises that you can take. It's next July when things really get hot at home, and it's a 10-holder tour, very much like the tour we took this past year. 10-holders asked me to remind you that early reservations are very important because, well, first of all, you save $150 if you make your reservation before the end of December. When you take the cruise, I think you're going to find that, as the people on the cruise last year found, we're going to have a wonderful time. If you'd like to see a videotape on Alaska to give you a preview of the cruise, you can borrow a tape at any of the 10-holder travel offices. There's also an Alaska catalog there. To look through and decide if you want to do anything else in the way of side trips. This particular Alaskan cruise offers some exciting side trips, including time in San Francisco. So check out the Holland America cruise on the New Amsterdam. We'll be leaving next July, and you can get full information from 10-holder travel. They are co-sponsors of the Good Neighbor Award. That's 10-holder travel, and there's a 10-holder travel office near you. And Ray Floyd is our guest this morning. I'm talking about San Francisco. Our paths crossed many, many years ago in San Francisco. It's good to see you again. You're ageless, and I've disintegrated before your very eyes. And wait, I want to get this stuff on today, too, because this is the Junior League Challenge Cup Benefit Golf Exhibition at Forest Hills. But you're no stranger to St. Louis. You've played here before.
Yes, Jack, I was lucky enough to play. Of course, I'm dating myself, but I played in the United States Open here in 1965 out at Belle Reve.
Mm-hmm.
I played the St. Louis Open, I think it was called, in about 1970. I might be wrong on that year, but it goes back. I played out at Old Warson with the Moritz group a couple years back, but St. Louis is not a town that I frequented. I haven't had the chance to get here on many occasions, but I know it's very progressive, and it's nice to see an organization like the Junior League and to see what they've done with a benefit and with the charitable contribution they've made around the area. And I think things like this are really beneficial to a community, and it shows the close-knittedness and the great support that with events like this.
Right, when you play the pro circuit, are there good golf towns and bad golf towns? I mean, are there towns that golfers would rather play and towns that they'd rather not play?
I think so, Jack. It's all personal opinion, of course. A town that I might not prefer, might not like to go and play. There are probably other players that would say it's their favorite. I think through the years of my traveling, I feel like I'm fortunate to be able to go and play. It's so well set up for us now. It's not like the old day where you had to scrape and find a way to get around and a decent place to stay. I think now we're catered to. You can't expect the things that we have done for us now. We're picked up at airports in courtesy cars. We're usually given an automobile in the tournament for the week. We stay in the finest accommodation. We eat at the best restaurants. So it's pretty easy nowadays. In the times back, it wasn't quite as easy. So
Is that true for everybody? Now, that may be true for the first five, but what about the last five? They get picked up in an old bus and they probably sleep on the bus. Is that true for everybody?
No, Jack, really, even the youngsters just starting out, the tournaments go completely out of their way. They'll be picked up with courtesy cars, driven back and from their hotel. They might not get a personal car for the week for personal use like an established player will, but they're very, very well taken care of.
Was it that rough ever for golfers? Not in your remember. Are you over 40?
I'm 42, Jack.
Okay. You don't really remember it ever being rough in the Pro Tour, living conditions and
Well,
so on.
I started in the early 60s, and what you would call rough, no, I didn't confront any of that period. I think you'd have had to get back in the early 50s and that era. But, it's turned into a real gentleman's game. It's a respected game. You play at the country club level. You rub elbows with the upper echelon of people, and it's really been a wonderful thing. Years back, the golf pro wasn't allowed in the front door of the country club. He had to go around in the old pro shop, and you couldn't socialize. So we elevated ourselves through there, and I think that's certainly, when you look back at the game and you see the leaps and bounds that it's covered through the years, you have to have a great deal of respect for people like Walter Hagen and Hogan and Snead and people like that.
They had it rough.
Yes, they
Bobby
had it
Jones.
rough, and the Joneses, and they were the catalyst, for what the game is today.
They never made the big bucks either, did they?
Very little money, really. They played truly for the love of the game. In fact, the great players in those days, like Bobby Jones, never turned pro for that reason.
That. He always stayed an amateur.
He stayed as an amateur. He had much more ways monetarily. He was more beneficial being a good player and making his mark economically outside the game, because there just wasn't that much money inside the game or through the game of golf.
Ray, is there a lot of camaraderie on the tour to golfers? Is it almost like a fraternity? Is there a closeness among professional golfers?
There is today, Jack, and that's also been a big change. In the day of very little dollar, and I'm going back in the Walter Hagen, Snead, Nelson, it was a very, very competitive game. And you hear stories of fights in locker rooms and ill feelings and no help. Today, it's completely different. I think you can find that it's a very close group of people. You're competing for very substantial amounts of money today. You'd think that there'd be a lot of jealousy, but I see very, very little. There's a tremendous amount of camaraderie. People are very willing to help others, not only with their golf games, but in their personal lives as well. And that's nice. And that's goes back to what I said earlier about it's really elevated itself in the social structure. It's a gentleman's game. It's taken as such. You don't see the jealousy and the hard feeling and the ill will that you might find in team sport or other sports.
Ray, I don't follow golf. I don't follow any sport that much. I try to keep an eye on everything, but I don't really follow golf, and I don't know as much about it as a lot of people would. I do notice that I'm starting to see good black golfers, and a few years ago there were no black golfers. Is this just recent? Has it just started?
Well, you had some pioneers in that era too, and that's still going back, as we were discussing just a moment ago. When a pro couldn't get in the front door, of a golf course, he had to go around the back. You can imagine what chance a black had.
He didn't even get in the parking lot. Never mind the
he
back
couldn't get
door.
on the grounds,
Yeah.
and that's why I say we have really gone with leaps and bounds. You had a pioneer like Charlie Sifford, who started playing, and he literally could not play in tournaments in the South when he first started. We got together as a group and went into tournament sponsors and said, look, he's a member of our organization. If we're going to play here, Charles is going to be able to play Charlie Sifford. From that, of course, he being the pioneer, he had a lot of tough goes. He had some cat calls and people disturbing him when he was trying to play. Now, I don't see any of that. I think I don't even, you say Calvin Pete or Jim Thorpe, players that are known today to your golf masses or your golf followers. I don't even think of those fellas being black. They're just other competitors. And of course, with the blacks, it's very difficult for them. Most of those players have to come up through the caddy ranks or have their experience through the municipal golf systems, and they haven't been as fortunate or don't have the facilities as we do. Growing up in the environment that, say, I grew up in. My dad's a golf professional. I've been around golf courses all my life, and you find that a great deal of your golf professionals come up the way I did, being exposed to it at an early age, and that's very rare for blacks in our society.
I don't really understand the development of a golfer in terms of what he goes through. Let me just hypothetically start out with a 17-year-old who is a good golfer and learns the game and plays on his father's membership at a country club and wants to become a golf pro. What does he do first to become a golf pro? How does he, and then we'll go along further and we'll see how he makes a living. How does this 17-year-old become a professional golfer?
Well, Jack, you might be starting to think about it a little bit too late at 17.
All right.
But I understand your question, and I'll try to run through it a little bit. A guy probably has an idea around 14 or 15,
okay.
And he would practice very hard and probably show great promise by the mid-teenage years. And he would compete in junior tournaments, be very active in his local area, probably be capable of beating his club champion.
He can do this at a country club. He could do this on a public course.
Public golf course, country club. He can play in all the local events, your amateur championships and your junior tournaments, and he'll get a feel. Maybe his desires aren't toward golf, but if in fact he has some desires of being a professional golfer, I think the fire has started burning, and he will be thinking along those lines. And of course, from there, the great step today is collegiate ranks, and he would be thinking of going to one of the top golfing schools.
Which schools would that be?
Well, Houston has been the institution, the real school. University of Texas seems to have a good golf team.
They have their own course on campus?
Yes. Yeah. Oklahoma State, Wake Forest, the schools down in the southeast.
All southern schools.
Well, you've got year-round sunshine.
Right,
It's a great help. Your far west schools who have some great golf teams really haven't been the institutions. Rollins University used to be a great golf school. But I think the thought there would be toward the collegiate ranks, because now that's a great proving ground. They play in the collegiate ranks now. They're playing often 2-3 tournaments in a 2-week span, and they stay on the road quite a bit and get a great experience. Those boys come out of 4 years of college on to the tour, and they're ready. It's not OJT like I had to experience as a youngster.
OJT.
On-the-job training, I call it. I came out of...
Stop you. You don't have to be a college graduate to become a golfer.
No, not at all. I'm just saying, but that's more the norm today. In my day, I started college at the University of North Carolina and wanted to be a professional golfer, and that was all. I didn't care about school, and of course I had the Army commitment or the service commitment in my day. I left school after one semester, went in the service, then came out and went on the tour as a young 20-year-old. And when
you don't just walk into the, how do you become a professional golfer? How do you get your card or whatever it is?
Well, what you do is you can go to a school and qualify. Actually, you can become a professional just by saying, I want to be a professional
I
golfer.
can.
Yes.
Okay.
You can do that. Of course, that's as far as you'll ever go. You'll be a card-carrying member or a professional golfer. But to join the PGA Tour, which I'm a member of, and the touring players are, you would apply. You would have to show some substantial background in the game where you've had some good tournament experience. And then you can go to a qualifying school in the winter. And right now, it's not very competitive, or as competitive as it used to be, because of an all-exempt system. And we only have about 155 players who are exempt to play the tour. So you take about 55 players each year have to go to a qualifying school in the fall down in Jacksonville, Florida, at our home site at the Sawgrass at the PGA Tour golf course. And there might be 400 fellas there trying to qualify for 50 spots. If you're not fortunate enough there, you've got to wait the cycle for one more year to go try again.
Well, when 50 more qualify for the tour, you've got to eliminate 50.
Well, what happens, we use a 120 system of qualification, meaning in a year's cycle on a money list, the top 120 are exempt for the following year, and after the 120, that's when you add that the 50 more in. So, in fact, you're playing, I said 150, you're probably having 175 people that are qualified to play on the tour, and then you have special.
And another 500 who'd like to be able to play.
Or maybe 1,000.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I don't think it's really as competitive as it could be, because the chances of a fella getting on today are much harder than it used to be. You'd come in on Monday and qualify against whoever wanted to try to play that week, and then the fellas made it. And if you missed, you could try the next week. But they've eliminated that system now and made it much more difficult to get out there and play. But on the other hand, once you've gotten there, you're going to stay there for a year. You know that, all right, I'm out here for a year now.
You got no guarantee of the next year.
You've got nothing except that 1 year. But that's a little security, and you know that I'm going to give it a shot for a year.
Now, if you make prize money, if you finish in the top end of the tournaments that year, is that a guarantee that you'll play the next year?
Only if you have to be in that top 120 on the money earnings. If you're 122nd or first, you have to go back to that qualifying school.
I got it. I hate to bring this up, but you had a couple of years where you didn't collect prize money, or did you? Weren't there a couple of years?
Well, I've been very lucky that I've been in the top money winners all through my career, and there are special situations. I won the PGA Championship in 1969, and at that time that carried a lifetime exemption. So I'm fortunate enough, along with fellows that won the PGA Championship or a U.S. Open prior to 1970, those fellows have a lifetime exemption. Now, after
exemption means you play.
You can play any place you'd like.
Okay.
After 1970, we felt that the lifetime situation was a little severe, and we changed it to 10 years. So all your major championships now run a 10-year exemption.
Do the golfers run the organization? Are they elect officers, and do they vote, and do they pass all this themselves?
We have a board. We govern ourselves through a board, like any other corporation. We have 4 members off the tour, active players, that sit on the board, along with 4 independent directors, a commissioner of golf, Dean Beeman, and then 3 members of the PGA of America, which is the parent body. So we have a large governing board that we try to do it in the political sense. We try to do it right, and all the fellows are golfers, so certainly that helps.
All right, let's go back to the 14-year-old kid who is now a professional golfer, and let's say he qualifies and he plays the tour and he wins $2,000 this year, or $5,000, or $8,200. Obviously, he's paying all of his own expenses. Golfers pay their own expenses and so on. He's not going to live on that. Maybe he's got a wife and children and so on. What will the average up-and-coming young golfer, what will he do to make a living? How long will he play the tour? How many months of the year? And the rest of the time, what will he do? Obviously, he'd like to be a club pro, but there can't be jobs for pros for every touring golfer. What will he do?
Well, the youngster coming out of college, or a fellow that works a little bit to try to get on tour, it's so expensive today, Jack, that he has to get what we call a sponsor. he has to get someone in his community or someone that has some faith in him, or someone that thinks they're trying to give him a shot. And sometimes it's a business arrangement. I'm gonna be your backer, and here's the deal we make.
I'll pay your expenses and I'll get a percentage of your earnings.
Exactly. Or in a lot of situations, it's local people wanting to see the fella have a chance, and they'll put him out without it. But a youngster, it's so expensive today to travel, as you well know. A youngster without some background, unless he's from a very wealthy family, just can't afford to get out there like that. So they start with a sponsor. And when you're talking about expenses today of probably in the range of $1,000 a week, that's on-road expenses, not counting what you have back home. It's very, very difficult for a youngster to get out.
Wow.
And it's a tough thing. So the only way I see it today for the youngster is to start working on some financial backing before he elects to go out.
Would he have a job too, or would the tour isn't 12 months?
Yes, you can play the tour 12 months. It really goes January, the first full week in January, right through the middle of November. You can play a tournament every month. And of course, in the fall and winter months, you have the foreign tours that you can go to. And for fellas that don't make it on this, on our PGA tour, our American tour, it seems very cruel. Well, that you mean they don't get to play now for a year? What happens there? There are a lot of mini tours, or like we'd call minor league. They're good proving grounds. We have a second tour offsprung on our PGA tour, and for very nice purses. You can play the mini tours, especially the Sun States, the southeastern Florida. They have a nice tour, North Carolina, Arizona, California. You can play the mini tours there.
Sounds like a tough way to make a living.
It's very tough, and it's very competitive.
Is it harder today than it was 20 years ago?
More
expensive.
I would think in one respect, Jack, it's probably more difficult. In the other respect, it's hard. It's all hypothetical. I can look back on the days when I started. There were 25 guys probably that were capable of winning tournaments. Today, I imagine there's 150 or 200 that are capable of winning. So certainly in that respect, it's much more difficult. It's more competitive. It's a much more professional atmosphere. I mean, guys come out now, they train, they work hard, they run. There's physical programming and a lot of work. When I started in the early 60s, the best players were the guys that could sit at the bar the longest. You had to have a little of the old background, the old elbow up on the table kind of thing.
Has that changed? Isn't the social life the same?
No, it's completely changed, Jack. You can't be competitive now because of the attitude of the game itself. It's just so competitive. You can't go out and stay up late and drink and carouse or whatever the terminology you care to use, and be competitive with all these people.
And I don't want to be a golfer. I want to ask you a hypothetical question. Could a McEnroe type, a guy with his temperament and his behavior, make it in? I'm not criticizing McEnroe. I think he's colorful. I think he's an interesting guy, and he's an amazing athlete. But could a guy with that, you're talking, you 3 times, right? You at least 3 times you said golf is a quote gentleman's game. Could is there a John McEnroe type today? Could a guy behave like that in golf today and make it and continue to play?
You see it less and less. You had Tommy Bolt was one of the great all-time characters of the game. The club breaker, club thrower, showed his emotions. I think through the years, fellas with that type personality has really been has gotten more reserved. They think about it. It's so commercialized today. There's an awful lot of money to be made through the game on the outside. And I think in the public view, with the media coverage, especially with television, you're so visible and there's so much written about it, and you're really under a magnifying glass with the public, that you're very, very aware of your personal actions. And you get out there and you feel like, boy, I'd like to hit this tree or break my club.
Well, does TV make you conscious of it?
It really does, Jack, and that's part of the game that's changed.
TV must have brought a lot of bucks into golf.
It's brought mega bucks into the game, and I think that's what it's done to your real characters, like your Tommy Bolt. I think the last guy that your audience might know or have heard about of late is Tom Weisskopf, and he had somewhat of a temper and expressed his own views very openly, and it's really discouraged internally. They don't want you to say anything that's not benefiting in every way. If you say anything detrimental, you're subject to fine.
Really?
And it really is, in one respect, it may be good for the game, but in the other respect, it doesn't let a fellow's personality really show itself. And a lot of those fellows are really colorful. I know Tommy Bolt was a great guy. I mean, he was just a real sweetheart. And his temper, as soon as he left the golf course, it was never there. I mean, he was a little pussycat. And I thought it was terrific when he flew off the handle and broke a club because it was spontaneous. It's something that he didn't hold in like I or others may do because...
But you do have that control. You have to have that. You feel you have to have that.
I think that's part of the game today. You have to learn to control yourself, and you do control it. I'm not sure that it's not better to go ahead and express it and get it over with instead of letting it build up in there.
You know who I kept thinking of when you were talking about Tommy Bolt? Porky Oliver. Porky didn't have maybe a temper quite as much, but what a great personality. What a interesting guy.
I think that's exactly, in the one respect, that's what's happened to the game. The true personality of an individual is probably not expressed in today's environment, in the society that we play the game of golf in. In the old day, the guy, it was his dollar he was spending, and if he wanted to stay up late and drink or come to the golf course in his coat and tie and play, that was fine. Today, it's frowned upon. Your peer pressure is such that your peer would look down on you and say, hey, that's not good for us.
Well, at the risk of getting you fined, let me ask you a question. It isn't as much fun as it used to be, is it?
It's really not. It's now a true profession. You're working very hard at it. It's a business, and you're exposed all the time because of it. In the old day, you used to go out and play golf, and that's the thing. I just hit on it. Play. It was a game. You played it. It was a lot of fun. When you had your bad times, you went and worked a little harder, and times got better. Today, it's just not that way. You say you're playing golf, but in effect you aren't. It's a business. You're going to the office. You're working your hours. And it's more of a grind than it was in the old days. That's true.
I hate to rush this for you, but when do you become a senior?
When you're 50.
Oh, well, you got plenty of time then. Yeah.
I'm caught in the middle. I've got the youngsters beating me on one side, and I'm not old enough to get there with the older guys yet, Jack. I'm caught in the trap.
And Palmer's waiting for you. Let me take a minute out. Ray Floyd is here. Gil Varn would like to suggest, if you have any siding work to be done or have been thinking about it, that you give them a call. He does aluminum and steel siding, of course. That's the Insulcoat siding that he has made for his firm. But they also do brick and stone siding, and they do something else. There was an ad the other day that from another firm that said they were the only ones who undercoat before they do any siding work, and that isn't true. The Varn people have always done this. They take 4x8 foot sheets of Monsanto foam core, and they put that underneath the siding material, and that gives you more insulation and more protection from the elements. Really, a good siding job starts to pay for itself summer or winter the day that they're finished because of the added insulation, and it, of course, cuts down on your heating and cooling costs. Call Gil Varn and Sons for full information at 432-4411. One more time, 432-4411.
America, what works like a Chevy truck? Nothing. What prowls and growls like a Chevy truck? Nothing. That's right. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Tough on the job, easy on the bus. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. So bring on the load, bring on the road. You got the goods, get up and go, ho, ho. Bring on the mud, bring on the muck. Bring home the bacon in a Chevy truck. You ever notice how many Chevy trucks you see working on farms? That's because farmers own more Chevys than any other truck. And hey, we can be mighty choosy. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck.
For the fall season's finest USDA choice beef, freshest peak of the season produce, delectable dairy and bakery delights, where else but national supermarkets? This week, Joy's Seneca Chuck Roast is only 99 cents a pound. Grady large eggs now only 48 cents a dozen with coupon and purchase. And also with coupon, a big 26-ounce can of Safari coffee, only $3.89. In the produce department, first of the season extra fancy red or golden delicious apples are just 49 cents a pound. California Snow White cauliflower, only 99 cents each. And this week, special savings on Ranch King fully cooked whole boneless hams, 95% fat-free, just $1.79 a pound. That's right, lean and delicious Ranch King ham, only $1.79 a pound at National.
At National Supermarket, you're important to us.
From America's election headquarters, get the news that affects your vote and your wallet. Get Cable News Network, CNN, the network that's the leader in business and economic news coverage.
Good evening. I'm Lou Dobbs. Consumers and businesses are competing more ferociously.
Weeknights, join Lou Dobbs for Cable's premier business and financial news program, Moneyline. Featuring corporate leaders and Washington policymakers, Moneyline's a full half-hour wrap-up of the day's economic news plus expert commentaries. Then,
it's called the Olympic Eagle Gold Coin.
weekdays, Stuart Varney presents Your Money, a handy how-to look at managing your personal finances. On weekends, CNN summarizes the financial news with Money Week and Inside Business. Plus, CNN brings you the people side of business with Pinnacle. This fall, you're in the money when you watch CNN, Cable News Network, America's election headquarters.
Cable TV special installation offer now through November 15th. Call 1-800-821-7700.
Time is money. When you need printing the worst way, get it the best way. Quick Copy, quality printing. Quick Copy with the running Ks, as close to you as your telephone. At Quick Copy, there are no such things as deadlines. Quick Copy works until the job is done. That's Quick Copy printing, where business turns the world over.
Check Yellow Pages for the Quick Copy near you. 17 locations. That's Quick Copy, spelled KWIK-KOPY.
We'll get back to Ray Floyd in a minute. Medicare Glazer's Drug Interaction Crisis Center provides emergency information on potentially dangerous drug interactions for anybody who might be taking more than one medication. There's a number to call day or night, 24 hours a day. You give them the name of the drugs, prescription, or otherwise. It could be aspirin. You want to tell them everything you're taking. They run it through the computer, and they can tell you if there's a dangerous interaction there. The number is 961-6191, 961-6191, and that number is good 24 hours a day. The Drug Interaction Crisis Center at Medicare Glazer Pharmacies. Ray Floyd is here. He's doing the Junior League Challenge Cup benefit golf exhibition at Forest Hills today. Ray, 20 years of golf. You've been playing 20 years. Has equipment made a difference? I know equipment's changed a lot in 20 years. Has equipment advanced so that you feel it in your game as opposed to 20 years ago?
I think equipment, I think in the last few years you've seen very technological, beneficial things. Golf balls are going a little bit further now than they did 5 or 6 years ago.
Really? Some of those commercials are true?
Yes, with the dimple design. They've made the golf ball travel a little further. I think the golf club and the golf shaft, I think through the years the golf shaft has gotten a whole lot better, more uniform. In fact, there's a company, Precision Shaft Company, that started out through an aeronautical design type thing where you electrically balance a whole shaft. So now you have exact matching sets of golf clubs where you didn't 10 years ago. So I think technologically through the years the golf equipment certainly has improved. I can't say that from year to year you really see a great advancement, but when you say 20 years, certainly there's been a great development.
I should trade
in golf equipment.
Hickory shafts and go to metal. Would you?
Your hickory might be getting a little molded, or might be some termites in there. You better get you some steel.
Hey, have you ever? Well, I'm sure you have. I'm interested in your observation of the Crosby boy. Is he going to be a great golfer, you think?
He certainly has a chance.
He's got the money to back him.
Well,
certainly.
he's got monetarily. He's
I mean,
going
that's
to be
important. You
it's
showed me
very,
that
very
important.
important.
Yeah.
Plus, the fact that he won the United States Amateur Championship, I think, 3 years ago. Nathaniel's a real nice boy too. He's a fine young man. He works hard at the game, and that's, I think, in his heart what he really wants to do. So I would say that he has certainly as good a chance as any youngster I've seen around of late.
Is he slight like his dad? Is he
Yes,
slender?
he's not a big, strong boy, and that might be one of the drawbacks.
Yeah.
And that's not, when you talk about slight on the golf tour, it's not going out and playing one round. It's that grind of taking that tour, getting on that airplane, living in the hotel. That's the grind when you're speaking of slight in stature. Usually those fellas seem to fizzle out later on in the season or during the summer when it gets real hot.
What's the ideal build for a golfer? I mean, if you were going to construct one from the ground up. 6-footer?
My goodness, I would like to be about 6'3", and have a good solid physique where your arm and legs are related.
Good
there are
proportion.
there are a lot of players that are tall with long legs, and you have a lot of players that are short with long arms. I'd say all of that is a detriment. I think ideally you'd be 6'2" or 3", with a basketball player's physique, and you can get the leverage, which gives you club head speed, which is length. And I really foresee, Jack, that's one thing in the back of my mind. You talk about records being broken, and I think one of the great advancements in the game of golf through the years has been strictly because of media coverage and monetary situation, where all your good athletes used to be baseball or football or basketball players. Now you have the athlete that can sign a baseball contract or a football contract, but he's a nice young golfer as well, and he sees the limelight in the game of golf, and he goes there. Well, we're going to take us a Rick Barry type. We're going to have one day, in my opinion, we're going to have a kid come out here. He's going to be 6, 7, or 8 with the build we're speaking of. He's going to be able to drive the ball 300 yards in the air and hit it as straight as Calvin Pete and putt it as good as Tom Watson. And you're going to have your world breaker. I really foresee that coming in the future.
Ray Floyd is here. Let's take a minute out.
We've asked 2 businessmen to compare their small business phone systems.
We use a Matrix 612 electronic key system from Southwestern Bell Telecom.
We like our old 6-button key telephone.
Our Matrix 612 automatically controls long-distance use.
With our phone system, we control toll costs by reminding employees to never call long distance.
Our Matrix automatically dials frequently called numbers. It also redials busy numbers for us.
Oh, we can dial and redial our phone system with either the right or left index finger.
We don't even have to pick up the phone to use the Matrix intercom.
Our phones don't need intercoms. We just yell across the room.
Your 6-button phone was great in its time, but now it's time to replace it with a convenient, cost-effective Matrix 612 from Southwestern Bell Telecom. Get the details. Call 1-800-DIAL-SWB. Southwestern Bell Telecom. New ideas from the people who started it all.